39 months after all the giants were finally killed out, there were a lot of youngsters around. And the youngsters were very loud, and they made parties and they did dangerous things. And because of all the ruckus and banging, the giant serpent that lives underground woke up, and it was very angry, and it wanted everything to become quiet again. So the serpent came out of the ground and started 9 fires, 8 on the 8 corners of the world, and one in the center. And the serpent circled the known world 19 times, around all the people, so that they would not be able to escape from the fires, so that they should all be burned to death. The 9 fires spread and joined up, and became the greatest fire that had ever existed, and it threatened to destroy the whole world. So the people prayed to the gods, and they did some sacrifices. This part, I don't exactly know what they did, but it doesn't really matter for the story. And the gods heard their cries, so they came together and created an absolute unit of a wooled wolf, which is, in this universe, a domesticated wolf-like animal, which one of the breeds grows wool-like hair, like big fluffy white fur, like a wool that they use to make clothing. And this creature is the natural predator of snakes. It likes to hunt snakes. So the gods created this creature, but like a very big unit, a version of one, a absolute unit version of such a creature. And this one that the gods created was created without the wool, so it was just a naked wooled wolf. And so this wooled wolf went around collecting all the smoke from the fires, and as it went around, it built up the woolly body. The wool grew onto it. And once it finished collecting the smoke, the serpent saw the wooled wolf, and it got scared, and it slithered back to its nest underground. And then the wooled wolf went into the fire, and by being burned alive, it used up all the fire, and the fire died out. So to commemorate this world-ending fire that happened 39 months after the giants were finally killed out, they have a holiday every 39 months, which does not line up with the year cycle, meaning it happens at a different time every year, where they light a fire at the center of town, a controlled fire, and they burn a wooled wolf alive in that fire, and then people over the age of 29 wear clothing with 19 stripes. Different cultures, different peoples make it in different places, different types. It could be vertical stripes, horizontal stripes, maybe even V-shaped stripes. And they dance in a circle around the fire 9 times. When they finish dancing the 9 circles around the fire, then the second part of the celebration starts, where they just have a good old happy fun time, with feasts and partying until the fire is finished burning. Then, once that's over, once the fire loses power, then the ceremony is over, and then different people have different customs. Some people just, dispose of the trash unceremoniously, and they go home. But some people like to take the ashes and throw it like confetti into the air, and it's still a happy fun time for them, like it's an additional part of the celebrations that they have. The reason why only those older than 29 celebrate is because in the story you see that it was the youngsters celebrating and making parties, which is what caused the serpent to come up and threaten everybody to begin with. So only the real adults, those over 29, can celebrate. And what I mean by real adults is that, like, in the United States, you can get a driver's license when you're 16, but you can only join the military when you're 18, and then you can only start drinking alcohol when you're 21, and then in some places you can only buy a car, I think, when you're 25. So the point is, there's different levels of adulthood for each culture. Even though some people say in some cultures you become an adult when you hit puberty, like when you're 13 or 12. In those cultures, there's also like a second level of adult that's like at 20. So that's what this 29 years of age is for them. It's a second level of adult that only once you reach this level is when you're not a youngster anymore. And that's when you can start celebrating this holiday. The celebration, I should say. Because the rest of the holiday, the second half, the youngsters can celebrate. They just don't do the circles around the fire, and they don't wear the stripes. They do eat the meal and take part of the party. The reason why they wear 19 stripes is to symbolize the 19 encirclings that the snake did around the known world. And they make 9 circles around the fire as a reference to the 9 fires that was started by the snake. And if you notice, every number here is 9. It's 1 less than 10. And the reason for this is it symbolizes the almost of the world burning down, because 9 is almost 10. It's almost a full number. Really, in this culture, they actually count in base 8. So when I was saying 39, 29, 19, and 9, what I actually meant was 31, 23, 15, and 7, respectively. I just didn't say those numbers because I thought it would be more interesting to start the story right away and not explain first that they count in base 8. So I just said it in the base 10 equivalents of the base 8 numbers. So I said 9 instead of 7 because the symbolism is just to be 1 less than the full number. So I just wanted to keep that symbolism and then explain this at the end. And just in case anyone's interested, when I mentioned that the fires were started at the 8 corners of the world plus the 1 center, that was me fudging the system that they use so that it fits into the base 10 system that I was narrating with then. In reality, these people use 3 cardinal directions, which can be split up into 6 corners of the world plus 1 center. So you see, they really had 7 fires started by the serpent, 1 less than 8, which is exactly the same as 9 fires started by the serpent, 1 less than 10, but in their version, in base 8. I hope that made sense. One thing that comes from this story is that the mega serpent from underground is used as a boogeyman of sorts for children who are too rowdy. The mothers tell them at night, if they want them to go to sleep already, they say, if you keep this up, you'll wake up the serpent and it'll burn you to a crisp, so go to sleep already. So I thought that was a pretty fun additional piece of information, a separate cool thing that comes from this holiday. Because anything in our lives is never just that one thing. It always has effects on other parts of our lives. So I thought that was an interesting additional tidbit that I got from this holiday.